Okay, Shannon, put us on the record, please. This is the matter of Xavier May. And let's see, we have Mr. Hotchkiss is LGAL. Mr. Way for the petitioner. Who are the attorneys for the parents?
Ivan for mom, Alicia Tedder.
Okay, and let's see, I need to let,
I think
Ms. Cowling's present. I think we got everybody here.
I think Rebecca is for Dad. Dad was a respondent.
I'm here.
Mike represents Xavier's dad.
Yeah, because I had the other dad.
Judge, I never got reappointed, but I did
Yeah, I'm not,
back in the day.
I didn't see your name on the notice list, so is he
Okay.
not represented?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, in any event, Mr. Hotchkiss, how's Xavier doing?
Your Honor, as you know, Xavier's placed with the paternal grandparents. They report that he's doing very well. No real changes. They're still in the process of the subsidized guardianship. I've reviewed the report and recommendations, and I'm in support thereof. Thank you.
And Ms. Cowling, are we making good progress towards finalizing this guardianship?
Yes, there were some setbacks in the paperwork due to COVID-19. I should have the full packet completed this week to send out to supervision to have it approved, to then send out to the guardianship office. So we are making progress. Right now, there was just a delay due to COVID, so.
And Mr. Brown, do you have any objection to the recommendations?
I don't have any recommendations. I'm just glad that the grandparents are continuing to do what's in Xavier's best interest by allowing my client to continue to have a relationship, because her and Xavier are well bonded. My client does well for long periods of time and then just has a minor setback, which has caused this whole situation to occur. Thank you.
Very well. I'll implement the recommendations. We will set our next review hearing for November 3 at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Cox Miners. Looks like Ms. McCluskey is LGAL. Mr. Way for the petitioner. Who are the attorneys for the parents?
Ivan Brown on behalf of Kenneth Cox, father.
Mom's a non-respondent.
Okay, and let's see, let me make sure I get everybody in the room. Deborah Hines, I think I saw her out there. Well, I saw her earlier. There it is. And I got a couple of phones in here. I don't know if either parent is at the other end of those phones. I guess the only way I'm gonna find out is by letting them in. So I'll find out who these folks are. I just let someone in with,
Sorry, I'm on court right now. So I'm on court for him. So give me just a second. Sorry. Sorry. I'm here with Mr. Cox and we have a flat tire in the state car. So I'm on the side of the highway, on the side of the highway with
oh,
him.
so he's with
there.
you. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so, looks like we have everyone present. Ms. McCluskey, how's Michael and Serena doing?
I tried a couple of times to call. I was either placed with their mother to call her, and the phone goes straight to voicemail. I did leave a message. I was not able to reach her, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear if she's on the call. She may be. Maybe she can give an update. I have reviewed the report, and I have no objection to the recommendations.
I don't know who that is. It just says 15175. Could you state your name, please? Does anybody recognize her?
Her number is 885. It's 517-885.
Okay, well,
Does it
that's
begin for
not
those
the
three?
number. But I've
Okay.
got a couple of phones in that just say iPhone. I've got a Galaxy A20. I'm gonna find out who all these folks are and label them, so I don't have to ask the question the next time around.
Try on court. You want to hold this so they can see you?
Okay, ma'am in the white shirt, you've got your turned sideways to me. What's your name? Ma'am, I can't hear you. Does anybody recognize that woman?
Yeah, that was you. God bless him. I need
All
to
right.
get.
Who's at Hillsdale's iPad? Well, this isn't going well. Who is at Hillsdale's iPad? Well, whoever it is has disappeared.
You're going to have an easier time.
And we're trying to make connections with some of these other folks who are mystery identities. Okay, I've got an LG Stylo 5X. What is your name, please?
Danielle Patrick.
All right, hold on a minute. I'm gonna put the name down so I don't have to ask it.
Okay. Will you cut that fruit?
And get both of them in the passenger side. I'll be right back.
Okay, and I've tried to let a couple other phones in, but they didn't make it. Here they're back again. We'll try again. And so I've got someone, a woman with a white shirt. Her screen ID is 15175. Ma'am, if you can hear me, would you tell me your name, please? Apparently she cannot hear me. Who is associated with Hillsdale's iPad? I'll try one more to let the Galaxy A20 in. This is the third time I've tried to admit that phone into the hearing, and for some reason, they're not getting in.
That's the dad on the next case. Mr.
Do you
Wireman.
know that's Mr. Wireman?
Yeah.
All right, let me type. All right, at least I'll know who it is. Whoever is at Hillsdale's iPad, if you don't answer, there's no way I can identify you for the hearing. Okay, I guess. Unless the mother in the Cox file is at Hillsdale's iPad, I can assume she's not present. So, Ms. Hines, do you have any updates for the court to your report?
No, Your Honor. Other than just Mr. Cox has his psychological evaluation today, right now, so we're heading to that. But other than that, everything is up to date.
Are there any objections to the recommendations?
Are you addressing me now?
I'm addressing whoever is counsel of record, because I've kind of lost track of who's who.
Yes, I am Mr. Cox's attorney. The only impediment right now with regard to Mr. Cox is his housing. I don't think that should preclude him from having some unsupervised parenting time with the children. As the report indicates, Michael especially is a handful, and Serena has issues with boundaries. Other than that, I would ask that we all have a discussion regarding the psychological evaluation prior to just saying follow all the recommendations when we don't know what they are. If Ms. Hines would submit me what the recommendations are, and we need a hearing prior to the 3-month hearing, I think that's more advisable than just adopting recommendations that we don't have any idea what they are. So we would ask for some unsupervised parenting time at this point in time. Thank you.
Ms. Hines, do you have any objection to allowing Mr. Cox some unsupervised parenting time?
I do at this point, Your Honor. I prefer to wait until we get psychological findings, and Michael has a CTEC trauma assessment scheduled for September 25th. So I would really like to kind of figure out what comes of that as well. He has significant trauma. Yes, we need to kind of figure out how to best protect him, I guess. and move at the pace that's necessary for him.
Judge, it looks like all the parenting time goes real well. I'm not asking for overnights. I'm not asking for all day, but just a few hours at the park, or be able to go out to dinner, or a few hours of unsupervised parenting time. I don't think there's any harm will come to Kenneth or Serena. And I don't believe there's anything that a trauma assessment or the psychological evaluation is going to preclude their protection.
Yeah, in my report from the service providers, they do mention that, and I've had a conversation with Mr. Cox as well. He doesn't understand what healthy discipline is, and because physical abuse allegations have been happening since 2016, I don't believe that there's been enough progress in that sense.
All right, well, after I've heard from Mr. Brown and from you, I'm willing to grant discretion for unsupervised, and if Mr. Cox makes headway and you feel comfortable that the children will be safe before our next hearing, I will give you discretion to allow unsupervised parenting time.
Okay.
Anything else today?
Oh, Your Honor.
Oh, Your Honor.
Okay, our next review hearing will be November 3 at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm told that the 15175 number or person is Ashley Duke, who I believe is on the
Okay.
Wilson Miners case.
She hasn't been able to hear me. I see she changed. I may have to call her, but I'm gonna write her name down here. So at least I'm not wondering who that is.
I'll have the
Thank
worker
you.
try to let her know that she might need to reconnect her audio.
And I've got the Hillsdale iPad back in. Can you hear me? Whoever's connected to the iPad, can you hear me? Any idea who that might be? All right.
Not really.
If you can figure it out, please let me know. Okay, next up, Wireman and Westman Miners. Mr. Wireman is present. Let's see, who else needs to be here? Jackie Johnson, I will let her in. And I've got one in the waiting room that says boys, men. Any idea who that might be?
That's Kamarian Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another file. We'll wait on that.
There should be a Nick Weissman and McKay, Kristen McKay.
Yeah, neither one of those names appear. I wonder if that's who was associated with the iPad that was not making a connection. If we've got phone numbers, I'm willing to try to.
Your Honor, I represent Nicholas Westman. I spoke with him. He was not planning to participate because of his work schedule. So it's not him.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, I represent Kristen McKay. She would be a 517-410 number.
She's not signed in under that number. Hold on. A couple more just popped in. If you've got her number, I can dial it.
Sure. It would be 517-410-7072.
And I'm sorry, give me her name again.
Kristen McKay.
Give that a try. Hello? Is this Kristen McKay? Well, it sounded like it got picked up, but nobody's talking. I've got an iPhone that just signed in. I'm going to let that one in and find out who it is. Does anyone know if it's possible on an iPhone to change your screen name?
I have, but if you're talking to me, I was just able to connect. There she is.
Okay, what is your name, ma'am?
Kristen McKay.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to call you. So
Yeah,
your
I was trying to
case
call
is
her
up.
earlier.
All right, well, we're here. That's good. Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, now let's try to figure out. Mr. Brown is LGAL. Mr. Hotchkiss, who did you represent?
I represent Nicholas Westman. He's Nika Westman's father.
Who's Mr. Wireman's attorney?
Mr. Kelly.
And who is mom's attorney?
Rebecca McCluskey.
Okay. I'm trying to get all of these written on the jacket so I don't have to keep asking that question, hoping we can get things moving a little more efficiently as we do this. So, Mr. Brown, can you tell me how Peyton and Nakia are doing?
Yes, I spoke with their placement, which is also their aunt. And Peyton continues to make progress. She has some fairly significant medical issues, but she's really making good progress. Feeding tube was removed, off of the oxygen for now, which is really a step in the right direction. So they are doing well. And I am pleased. It looks like from the report that mom, although not doing perfect, she's doing much better in the service plan, albeit late. We're over a year into this case, but I am pleased that she is at least stepping up somewhat in this case. I'm in agreement with the recommendations. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, do you have any updates for the court?
This morning, Mr. Wireman emailed me a letter. I had asked him for a copy of the assessment. And what he emailed me was a letter from the substance abuse provider, which indicates that he did attend one appointment. I have put a call into that provider for an update or to see what we need to do to assist in that. And he has not attended any substance abuse screenings. I contacted Ms. McKay this morning. We have not been able to get her, she has not been able to get an assessment. At this point, we've got an agreement that I will schedule an assessment, give her the date, and she will show up rather than trying to schedule it herself. Mr. Westman was out of town for a week on or out of state on a family emergency. But he has stayed in contact with me. We've had a little trouble getting his parenting time, face-to-face parenting time set up. We are working at it.
Mr. Hotchkiss, what's your position on the recommendations?
And I've discussed the report and the recommendations with Mr. Westman, and he's in accord with those. So, and he also indicated a willingness to follow them and a desire for reunification. So we're in support of them. Thank you.
And Mr. Kelly.
My client indicates to me that he's having difficulty getting contact with a caseworker, particularly in regards to the substance abuse screening. He indicates he has not been able to get a verification code or number for those screens to be able to call in and participate in those. In regards to the medical appointments, he indicates to me that he has not been provided an opportunity to even attend those, and the ones that he has been made aware of, he wasn't able to fit it into his schedule in terms of work and maintaining a household. I'd have nothing further.
And Ms. McCluskey, what's your position on the recommendations?
I also discussed those with my client, and we have no objection. And I do believe Ms. Johnson updated the court. The reason the substance abuse assessment has not been done is because the entities were not calling my client back. So I believe the agency is going to take care of that for her. So that will be completed in the near future. Otherwise, no objection. Thank you.
Okay, well, progress does seem to be a little sluggish here. I would certainly hope by the time of our next review hearing, we see some encouraging signs that good progress is being made. These kids have been in care for quite a while, but I also recognize we've had COVID issues, and as I recall, some tuberculosis quarantine issues that have slowed the process down. So I'm taking those things into account. But it is important that we make some good headway. I hope to see that at our next review hearing. That will be November 3rd. At 9:15. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, next up. Highland Allard and Patrick Miners. I've got to make a call to Carson City. I'll do that now.
You have reached the Carson City Correctional Facility. If you are calling from a touch-tone phone, press 1. Please dial the 7-digit phone number of the person you wish to speak with, or you may dial 0 for operator.
You cannot be transferred to this number. Check the number and try again.
Please dial the 7-digit phone number.
You cannot be transferred to this number. Check the number and try again.
Please dial.
You cannot be transferred to this number. Check.
Hello, this is Cunningham. Can I help you?
Yes, this is Judge LaFlamme. I was trying to connect with Dustin Highland for a court hearing, and the extension that I was given, I've tried to dial twice now, and it says I can't be connected to that.
Sometimes it won't let the outside dial in, but if you tell me that extension, I'll punch it in for you.
259-2580.
259-25 what, 0?
8.
Okay.
Charges, mortgages, college costs, retirement.
Sorry, C unit is not available. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Judge, I will waive my client's appearance. They're asking for closure of the case with regard to his children. And we agree with that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's see, who all do we have on this case? So obviously, Mr. Brown represents Mr. Highland. Who's LGAL?
Ken Hotchkiss, Your Honor.
And what other attorneys are on this matter?
Mike Kelly on behalf of the mother, Miss Patrick.
And Ms. Patrick is present. And let's see, our worker is Ms. Cowling.
Your Honor, Gabrielle Patrick is present in the waiting room and would like to participate in the court hearing if possible.
I've got a Gabriel Ackland.
It may be under Tony Patrick.
Oh, I see a CPATR. Let's try
Yes,
that.
that's correct. That'd be them.
Okay, looks like Gabrielle's here. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good.
Okay, and I still have that Hillsdale iPad. I have no idea who that might be.
We had mom in earlier. You had her in and then you put her back in the waiting room.
She's here.
Yeah, she's here. We can see her sitting in her car. Okay, so Mr. Hotchkiss, how are all these children doing?
Honor, they're all doing well. I am pleased to report, and I know the court knows that Danielle completed the FRP program. The children appear to be doing well in their care. I did talk with mom about it, and everything seems to be going well. Gabrielle is here. I'm glad to see she's looking good, and I think things are going well with the maternal grandparents. I have reviewed the reports, including the FRP report, and I'm in support of the recommendations. Thank you.
And Ms. Cowling, you are still recommending that the NA case be closed for all but Gabrielle, correct?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Patrick, unfortunately, has not been able to screen for the past 2 weeks due to a pending COVID-19 negative screen, as well as her working. The agency would like to request an extension on the case and have an early review date. to have Miss Patrick complete screening for another month period with all negative screens before we would feel comfortable closing out the case due to the positive screen she had in late June.
So, Mr. Brown, I know you waived your client's presence based on the recommendation does that cause you any concern?
No, I'm still going to ask the court close the case. I didn't see anything in the report that gave me a concern, and nothing's different. So why would we be asking the recommendations to close? And there's nothing different in the report. Thank you. So no.
My understanding is because there hasn't been any screening since the report was authored. Is that correct, Ms. Colling?
That is correct. So we have to return our court reports 2 weeks ahead of time. So since that time, she has not completed any drug screens. The agency just feels it would be in the best interest for us to close out this case, knowing that Ms. Patrick continues to maintain her sobriety due to that one positive screen she did have. So our goal was that in these past 2 weeks that Ms. Patrick would have continued to screen. However, she was unable to. So we're just asking for an extension to ensure that she is maintaining her sobriety by being able to drug screen her weekly.
All right, so Shannon, let's schedule this for a month, and by then we should know. Is she able to start testing again?
Yes, Your Honor. I will be randomly screening her weekly myself.
Okay, I think caution is well advised. We'll have you back here in a month, and hopefully, with all negative screens, I will be able to approve the request for case closure.
September 8th at 9 a.m.
September 8th at 9 a.m. Was there anyone else who wanted to be heard today? Okay, we'll see you back here on September 8th. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, would you try to get a hold of this prison and tell them we're not going to need Mr. Highland?
I already did.
I
sent him an email.
Thanks, Shannon.
It's Lindsay Cooling.
Cooling, not Cowling.
Right. Just an FYI.
Okay, next up. Williamson and Dowell miners. I'm just letting Shelby Collins in. Can I ask whoever's associated with the Hillsdale's iPad to identify themselves, please?
Yes.
Kathy Coe.
Okay, good. We finally made a connection with you. Hold on.
They see us? I know. If they do, then we have to. Hello?
Kathy, what's the last name again?
Coe.
Spell that.
COE.
Thank you. I had trouble understanding you, sorry. Okay, mystery solved. So we've got Mr. Kelly as LGAL, Mr. Way for the petitioner, who represents the parents in this matter.
Ivan Brown on behalf of Ashley Dowell.
Rebecca McCluskey for Brady Dowell.
Mr. Kelly, how are the children doing?
Honor, I spoke with placement for Alaris, doing well. The tube she had put in some time ago seemed to have worked. They're waiting on early on for her to be in person, as the video, doing it online or over video just won't work because she's too young. Placement indicates that mom is doing great with Alara during parenting time. Not so much the same for Wesley. Wesley is on track for his age. No concerns there. Placement indicates to me that they had to take this affirmative steps to set up visits through Catholic Charities because it wasn't happening through the worker, and the caseworker apparently is not supervising these visits between mom and Alara and Wesley. Instead, it's placement, which if this case goes sideways, it kind of puts them in an awkward position of having to ultimately be a witness in this matter. So I'd hope that that can be addressed where another third party or someone from the agency can actually supervise the visits. In relation to Lucian, doing well there. When telephone conversations would occur, as referenced in the report, Lucian would basically hold the conversations with mom. The in-person visits have gone well. But as referenced in the report, a parenting coach to assist mom through those times would be beneficial. Both placements indicate it's clear that mom loves the kids. It's just the time that she's got with them, especially when she has Alara and Wesley, that maybe she could somehow divert more time to Wesley to help that relationship along. Otherwise, I have no concerns or objections to the recommendations.
Did you get a chance to review Susan Honig's June therapy report?
I did, Your Honor, and to be frank, there is advocating for a client, and then there's what Ms. Honig did. I, to be frank with you, I kind of cringed a few times reading through it. It's my understanding from what my recollection is, and Mr. Brown can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe mom at one point in time admitted of her knowledge of what was going on. And Ms. Honig seems to take the approach that mom was completely in the dark. So I'm not sure how to reconcile those two things, but it was a very strongly worded letter from the therapist. Strongest that I've ever seen in my 20 years of practice.
Well, that was my reaction to it. Ms. Collins, your microphone's muted. So have you had conversations with Ms. Honig?
I have had conversations previously with Ms. Honig, and then we actually just had one with me, my supervisor, and my director yesterday.
All right, I'm having trouble hearing you. Your voice is breaking up. Is there a phone number that I can call you on and get a better connection?
Yes. It's 517 740 0744.
All right, now actually that all came through pretty clear. So could you start over again?
Yes. So I have had previous conversations with Susan in the past. And then we just recently had a conversation with me, my supervisor, and my director yesterday with Susan.
Was any progress made? This letter is extremely strongly worded.
Yes.
And I want to get a handle on, is Ms. Honig just being a little overzealous here, or are there some serious problems here that need to be explored?
So we talked to her and we tried to discuss Ashley's therapy treatment plan and goals with Susan. Susan really was more focused on the foster care plan. When we asked her multiple times about what she was doing in therapy and her treatment plans for therapy, she would focus on what Ashley had done in the foster care case plan. We had to keep reminding her that that's what we were asking. She stated that Ashley's only therapy goals were to get her kids back and to not give up. She was very argumentative with us the whole time. And basically stating that she had no actual treatment plan or goals for Ashley. When we asked her about how she was helping Ashley with the issues that Susan was aware of, she only listed off things that Ashley had reported to her, but never things that she had worked on with Ashley or she had recommended. And then when we asked her about Ashley's trauma, she looked at her intake eval and stated that it would actually take Ashley years of therapy to overcome her traumas. So we explained that we don't need her to do the years of therapy right now to get her kids back, but we just need to see progress within her therapy. And the therapist actually self-reported at the end that she struggles with foster care and did not mind being removed from the case. So we agreed with that, and we told Ashley, because, you know, she's not been receiving the therapy she needs. And we're going to actually refer Ashley to a healing place today at her visit that's occurring after court.
Mr. Brown?
Well, Judge, if you look at the initial allegations of this case, at the dispositional hearing, I asked the court to go discretion for unsupervised. The court granted it because of the minimal allegations that were made at the initial hearing. Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Honig is a well-respected therapist who has done court-ordered therapy for this court for many, many years. There has never, ever been a question about Ms. Honig's integrity, her the way she conducts therapy. When I read the report, it does give a strong advocacy for her client. You know, I think Catholic Charities may need to do a little self-analysis on their own. So don't lay this on Ms. Honig's doorstep. She's well respected. And for Ms. Dowell not to have had unsupervised parenting time by this time, and by what Mr. Kelly even said at the beginning of his remarks about the parenting time being done by the foster care placement and the relative placement, kind of leads credence to what Ms. Honig is saying. We don't want a new therapist. This therapist has a relationship with Ms. Dowell because she's a little forceful and Catholic Charities doesn't like what they're hearing. Maybe we should have a new agency as opposed to a new therapist. Ms. Dowell has done very well in her treatment plan. And we're asking for unsupervised right now, in conjunction with that parenting coach. There is no reason why she can't have unsupervised parenting time, considering the minimal allegations that were set forth initially. There was some domestic violence and nothing really more significant than that.
Ms. McCluskey?
I've had no contact with my client, Your Honor. I have no comment.
Well, it's very challenging for the court to read such a strongly worded letter and then hear the outcome of a meeting with the author of the letter. It's very hard for me to make a call based upon a letter. What I'm hearing from the worker is that Ms. Honig isn't really providing anything beyond advocacy for her client, and yet admitted to the worker that she's in need of therapy. So there's a disconnect there for me.
If I may, when it's my
Go ahead.
Judge, that is one person's perspective. If Miss Honig wasn't such a well-respected therapist, I may I may have second thoughts. But because she's such a well-respected therapist who has been working with this court for many, many years in the juvenile arena, then I would give some credence to Catholic Charities' statement. But based upon all our previous work with her, I got to question Catholic Charities and not Miss Honig. So if Miss Honig's saying this, I got to question Catholic Charities and not Miss Honig. That's like if Ruth Gennick said something like this. We all respect her. And if she said something like this, we better take notice.
Could I speak, Your Honor?
Please do.
Because I have had a much different experience with Ms. Honig than Mr. Brown did. She used to do assessments in juvenile court for sexual offenders that I thought were terrible. And frankly, I think part of the reason that those were so bad is the reason that she doesn't do them anymore. But I wasn't involved in that decision. That's just my perspective. When I read the letter, she just makes so many assumptions that she's not privy to, I think, the sufficient information to make. I mean, she's in both of the letters making basically making opinions about why, or asking why basically that the case hasn't been prosecuted. To me, it reads like a bunch of MLive comments from people who don't really understand how the system works. That's kind of how I interpreted it. We've run into these issues with therapists before where I think they just get too close to the case. I know Ms. McGinnick is a very well-respected therapist, and I think she does a great job. I've seen it happen with her too. And if what Ms. Collins is saying is true, that she's not actually providing her therapy, but just helping her to get, by advocating to get the kids back, then that's an issue. If we want to bring Ms. Honig in and question her on some of these things, I would be happy to question her on some of her assumptions, because I think a lot of the assumptions that she makes are very poorly grounded. Thank you.
And Judge, briefly, I think some of the assumptions are well and fact-based. There is no reasons based upon the minimal allegations set forth initially and what Ms. Dow has done as to why she's not having unsupervised parenting time at this time. I'd be mad too if I were the therapist. When I asked at disposition and the court granted discretion to go to unsupervised in March, and it still hasn't happened, and my client has continued to progress and hasn't done virtually anything wrong in her case treatment plan, why aren't we at unsupervised parenting time? That's the question to be asked.
Well, I'm very reluctant to take any action based upon a written report. I think we need to hear from Ms. Honig. And she says in this letter, the ongoing abusive punishment of these innocents, referring to the children, could not be more thorough if some depraved psychopath were plotting it. I really have trouble with the language being that strong. Either the situation is absolutely the way she describes it, or she's lost her perspective. How do I judge that based upon a letter? I think I need to hear some live testimony. So I think what I'm going to do, unfortunately, I can't do it for a month because we're not meeting in 2 weeks. Let me ask Ms. Collins, what is your specific concern about mom getting some unsupervised parenting time? We're not talking about returning the children to her care. What is your hesitation for giving unsupervised parenting time?
Our hesitation with unsupervised parenting times is that moms interact with the children. I don't know how to word it other than it's just a little strange. She treats us there's sort of neglect without us being supervised visits.
Okay, Ms. Collins, I'm gonna call your phone because you're breaking up badly again. Hold on.
Hello?
Ms. Collins? Ms. Collins?
Yes?
All right. Can you start over again with your concerns about unsupervised parenting time? Ms. Collins?
Or friends instead of a parent. And we're afraid that there's a potential for neglect if we aren't there supervising those visits. Sometimes doing her own thing, and like when the child comes up to play, telling them, no, I'm playing with this. She has swatted at Alara during a visit. So just with those things, the potential for neglect and possibly physical discipline of a child, and that now, unfortunately, that she hasn't received her individual therapy. And part of that was to acknowledge and work through the trauma that these children have experienced. And just us not being there, we're not ready for that. And that's why.
What's your plan for who would be supervising? I think I heard something about a parenting time coach.
Yes. So right now I supervise visits with Lucian, and Kathy, the aunt, has been supervising visits between Alara and Wesley, but previously to COVID, I supervised one with a week with all 3 children, and the ones with Lucian, and Kathy supervised just Alara and Wesley once a week. She had volunteered to do this as she had a good relationship with Ashley and a good relationship with the kids. And because of the distance of where these kids live, they live in Montgomery, about 5 minutes from Indiana. I have found a potential parenting coach. It did take some time with COVID. No one was willing to do that. And then I had trouble after COVID locating one who would be willing to watch the visit with Alara and Wesley and possibly give Wesley that one-on-one bonding time with mom. I received contact from her yesterday, and they are currently actively looking into seeing if they can fit her into their schedule.
And this parenting time coach, is this someone who is part of your agency or someone independent?
Someone independent.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to order anything beyond what I've already ordered, but I'm going to want to hear from that parenting coach at our next hearing. And I'm going to want to hear from Ms. Honig at our next hearing. I want to get to the bottom of this. I can't just ignore a letter as extreme as this one is. On the other hand, I can't just act on the letter. I want to hear directly from her and find out what would prompt something as extreme as this letter sounds. I don't have enough of a history with Ms. Honig to be able to have a sense one way or the other, whether she's always reliable, questionable, unreliable. I just don't have enough of a frame of reference. I mean, anything further from any party?
Just Judge, regardless of what Ms. Collins indicates, she did not give what I consider any reason to believe in her statements that these children would be harmed. She treats Lucian more like a sibling than a parent, or she swatted at Alara. There's really nothing there that gave me any concern to justify keeping these supervised. There's never been an allegation that mom physically harmed these children, or there was domestic violence, I think, what she pled to. And her Brady is no longer around. So there's no justification for keeping this supervised at this point in time. Minimal unsupervised we're asking for.
What I heard from Ms. Collins gives me concern. I am going to, as I said, schedule an early review hearing in a month. I want to hear directly from this parenting time coach with some firsthand unbiased observations, and I want to hear from Ms. Honig. Otherwise, I'm going to implement the recommendations. That early hearing will be
September 8th at 9:15.
September 8th at 9:15.
Judge,
Thank you.
We have 4 cases in the morning, and that's it on Tuesday. I have a long-standing divorce trial that is set in front of Judge Beebe at 10 o'clock that morning. You tell me what to do. I can't be in 2 places at the same time. And I always tell them, please don't set these on my abuse and neglect day when I take a case like this, and they do it anyway. So Judge Beebe, I'm sure would be glad to move the divorce case. But if we could do this on September 9th, this will probably take forever with Ms. Honig and the other parenting coach wanting to be heard. I don't think we have much on September 9th.
Your Honor, I'm in the same boat as Mr. Brown. I also have a trial scheduled at 10 o'clock that morning. I don't know what pecking order we're in, but it sounds like one of them's going to go.
I think you're first, but because we've already discussed that. But either way,
I don't have a problem scheduling it for the 9th.
We've got 2 bench trials at 8:30 and a termination at 9.
Let's schedule it for 11 o'clock on the 9th. Does that work?
we could even, I don't even think the one at 9:30 is going to last very long. You probably set it for 10 or 10:30 and we would be done.
Okay, we'll set it for 10 then.
Ivan, you just tell us where you wanted us to set it on our docket.
I'm just helping you. We can set it for 4 o'clock in the afternoon if you want.
All right, September 9th at 10 o'clock.
Yep, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Austin Jackson Miners. So we've got Stephanie Pinson. Oh, there it is. Okay. Mr. Kelly is LGAL. Mr. Hotchkiss, who do you represent?
I represent Corey Austin, the father, Your Honor.
And let's see. Mr. Way for the petitioner. And are we expecting any parents here?
Your Honor, I provided my client with Zoom instructions, and I thought he intended to participate.
I've got a telephone number in here, 517-395.
That's not the number I have for him.
Okay. I don't see anyone else in here that isn't identified. So apparently he wasn't able to make the connection. Okay, Mr. Kelly, how are these boys doing? Well, when I say boys,
Right. They're doing
looks
well.
like a girl and a boy.
Doing well, Your Honor. No concerns there. I guess at this point they've been in care for going on 2 years now. And we're still running into the same issues as far as Ms. Reyes is concerned with housing and employment. And now we have a few missed screens. I'm wondering how much longer we keep this case open for housing and employment to straighten itself out. That's not as huge a concern as the missed screens this late in the game. I know with COVID, there's been some effects on housing and employment and so on and so forth. So based on that alone, I wouldn't have any objection to another report period. But if we come back in 90 days and we're still in the same boat, I think we need to consider a different end goal for these kids. Thank you.
I'm a little confused here, Mr. Kelly. The mother's name is Bittner?
Cassidy just texted me. I told her to try to jump on now. So she may try to call in.
I've got that phone number, 395-3928. Is that her number?
No.
Oh, here she is. She just joined, she just logged in. Okay, Ms. Bittner is present. You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hotchkiss?
Your Honor.
What's your position on the recommendations?
Your Honor, I discussed the recommendations with my client and he was in accord with those, so we have no objection.
Ms. Pinson, do you have any updates for the court?
No, Your Honor.
I think the recommendations are appropriate. I will implement them. We'll set our next review hearing for November 10th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a very short break. I'll keep the meeting room open. And I think I'll keep the live stream going as well, so I don't have to restart it.
Micah, mommy, mommy, mommy.
Thank you.
Okay, Shannon put us back on.
Alrighty.
Okay, next up is Kamarian Jackson, and I know he's in here somewhere. And let's see. Gabrielle Ackland.
And let's see.
So Ms. McCluskey is LGAL.
Gabrielle.
Correct.
Somebody's got their YouTube playing. If you could mute that, please. Okay, and who represents the parents in this matter?
There's no attorneys for the parents, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. Ms. McCluskey, how's Kamarian doing?
He's doing great. KJ, he is one of my favorites. Always happy and upbeat and positive. He's doing well at Boys to Men. It sounds like they're still doing some home visits with his cousin, and I know he would like to address the court also. We talked about the positive screen, and he's very regretful of that and has a good plan for moving forward. So he's being very responsible about the one little mishap. It sounds like he only has 4 credits left until he's done with his program, his schooling at Boys to Men. So we're kind of hoping that he will be able to transition to his cousins sooner rather than later and just finish those 4 credits online while being with his cousin in independent living. And I would support that as well. So I have no objection to the recommendations. Thank you, Your Honor.
So, Kamarian, looked like we had a little trouble getting you in, but you're there now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Although it's been a long day on the bench today. Is there anything you wanted to address with the court?
Yeah. I mean, like basically, like same thing Miss Rebecca was saying. I was gonna say like what I wanted to do, cause like all my older cousins that I was hanging out with, like they're going off to college now. So I have 2, like Simone, the one that I'm like trying to go live with, and then Sharmika, he worked for the state. Like both my cousins are going off in like 2 weeks, and like I just like wanted to, see them before they go off and stuff, and trying to get back home for like my last year of school. And then what like I had came up with was like a plan where like, cause he said like me and my worker Gabe, we was talking about like if I were to get like a job and stuff like that, and there's like a program for me to do for like me to get back home, he would support that just as long as I'm finishing up on school and I already have a job to support me.
So, Mr. Ackland, is it possible to arrange a visit with Kamarian and his cousin?
Yes. Basically, after he had the positive screen, I changed how home visits were done, where I would provide the transports myself. He just had one this previous weekend that went well. I planned on probably trying to do another one within this month, so that way he can see them. And the program that he mentioned that he was bringing up was the young adult voluntary foster care program. And I'd be very willing to still work with him on that as well. So, I mean, still working on trying to get him home.
All right, well, the goals and the recommendations appear to be appropriate. I'm going to implement them. We'll set our next review hearing for November 10th at 9 a.m.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kamarian. Good to see you. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Reyes Miners. I think, Mr. Kelly, I might have already received your report on this one.
Your Honor, you did. I had a slight mix up, but you got my position in regards to the report and recommendations. This slight update in regards to the children. The placement says they're doing well. Brooklyn recently went up north to Mackinac for a few days with the paternal grandparents. Sounds like she had a pretty good time. They're waiting on the referral from University of Michigan for the autism testing to get that taken care of. And Aaron is still working with early on through Zoom. They're hoping that can get changed to in person, because it seems like that would be a little bit more effective considering the age that we're dealing with. Thank you.
And Ms. McCluskey, you represent Mom?
Your Honor, could we bring in the worker for the case?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Danielle Lagore.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Legore.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so mom is still unable, I mean, housing has been the holdup here for a long time. I realize COVID threw a major monkey wrench into that, but where are we at?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Can you invite the mother in? She's participating by phone, phone number 395.
Oh, okay, now I know who that phone is.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm glad you did, thank you. Ms. Reyes, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Ms. Legore. How are we doing on the housing issue?
I have no updates. Ms. Reyes has not provided any verification that she is indeed on the housing list. There is limited resources that we can offer to help with housing, and that has been the barrier going forward. However, in this reporting period, there's additional non-compliance that's concerning to the agency. My only update is that Ms. Reyes did test negative on 8/3.
So, Ms. Reyes, your children have been in care for a long time now. 2 years in care is extremely long. I know we got impacted by COVID, and my recollection at the last 2 review hearings, the only obstacle to reunification was your housing situation. Have you done anything? Have you done anything to remedy that?
I've been trying to find employment, but currently, with me being pregnant, I haven't had any real luck because a lot of places are considering me having to take a maternity leave. So, but without employment, not having contact with community action agency, when it comes to the housing itself, I haven't made any progress.
Is there anything on the horizon? I mean, I hope you can understand, I cannot leave your kids in foster care indefinitely waiting for you to find housing.
Correct. And, we had mentioned before, pursuing, limited guardianship as well, just so we could close the foster care thing. And then I was told due to lack of financial support that wouldn't be an option anymore. That was when the plan was changed, the concurrent plan was changed from reunification from the limited guardianship to adoption.
Well, the plan isn't adoption. The plan is reunification.
Right. I just mean with the plan B, more or less. We had discussed the limited guardianship. I believe it was back in March, and then we had the 3 weeks where I needed to get the children's social security numbers in order to put them on the limited guardianship paperwork for Pamela and Rex. And then the courthouses had closed down due to the coronavirus, and then we switched it back to reunification. And then about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a family team meeting with Danielle, and she had informed me that they changed the plan from the limited guardianship to adoption due to lack of financial resources for Pam and Rex. But that ultimately they were still pursuing the plan of reunification in the meantime. But right now, the only actual housing options that I could pursue are both out of the state of Michigan, and I was told that the case would not be able to be transferred out of the state of Michigan due to the children being born in Jackson County. So,
how would you be more likely to obtain housing out of state than you would in state? Help me understand
I,
that.
I have family members that reside in Texas that have told me that I could stay there if I needed to, and the only expectation would be to help around the house and be able to find employment while I was residing with them. And I also have 3 or 4 different friends that live in Ohio that have mentioned finding a place that I can move in with them as well. So it's just right now the employment is the barrier, and currently being as far into my pregnancy as I am and not having any luck, you know, in the past other than the casual labor work that I was doing. It's until after the baby's born, I can't anticipate any form of employment or movement when it comes to the housing itself.
So, Mr. Kelly, is it your belief the court should be ordering a goal change?
Your Honor, I was saying, considering we had, I'm not sure what her efforts were during the initial outbreak of the COVID, but I know there was like a moratorium on the housing in terms of evictions. And I know a lot of landlords and such were hesitant to even engage in new leases or rents. With her having, even whether her level of participation at that time or effort was even minimal, I think she can get the benefit of the doubt of at least having another report period to make up for that time lost. As I said, if we come back in 90 days and we're still in the same boat, I would think a goal change would be appropriate.
All right, Ms. McCluskey, did you have anything for the court?
No, Your Honor. I mean, we understand the court's position and the quandary everyone is in. It's a little frustrating. We think the limited guardianship would have been a perfect solution, especially considering the COVID challenges. But we would appreciate at least one more reporting period. And we understand the GAL's position, of course. Thank you.
All right. Ma'am, I'm going to give you one more reporting period, but I'm not going to give you any more. You absolutely must figure out a way to solve your housing issues by the time we're back here, or I am going to, for the sake of your children, move forward with a plan for adoption. There just can't be any more excuses. That next review hearing will be November 10th at 9:15.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes?
Can you just address parenting time, please? The agency was recommending a pullback to supervised.
Oh, I apologize. I did need to weigh in on that in the court.
Go ahead, Ms. McCluskey.
In review of obviously speaking with my client, in review of the court report, aside from the allegations that clients being difficult or argumentative with the caseworker, I wouldn't see any reason, any facts that would support going back to supervised visits, and clearly being argumentative is not a reason to go backwards here. So obviously we would object to that.
My concern is the report from placement of what's happening during those visits.
The allegations that are in that letter are fully incorrect, aside from me not providing sunscreen, which I've brought to the last 2 or 3 visits.
As the court probably remembers, there's some difficulty. Obviously, this is my client's mother and her husband have placement of the children, and there is a really strained relationship there as well. That is a huge component to a lot of the allegations, and they've brought these up all along. This is not new. It looks like an attempt to undermine my client, quite frankly.
Well, that may be, but the factual report is concerning to the court. So what I will do, I'm going to return to supervised visits, however, with discretion to revert to unsupervised. And Ms. Legore, I expect you If there are no concerns with the supervised visits, I would expect you to return to unsupervised.
Yes, sir.
But
So will the
I-
parenting time still be for the 90 minutes?
Stephanie, I can contact you to schedule.
I don't want you to be denied any parenting time, ma'am, so I would expect that you wouldn't lose time. I just want to have it supervised, at least for a few visits, to make sure that the concerns that are being raised are not, in fact, legitimate concerns.
Well, there
So
are
I
also
will-
concerns involving my children that have been disregarded by Ms. Legore and by Pam and Rex also over this past week consistently.
Concerns about their treatment and care?
No, my daughter had made a trip up to Mackinac Island with 7 or 8 other relatives and returned sick. And she's still reported having a sore throat and she's still been coughing. My son has some chest congestion and he's been coughing and a little bit of sneezing and a runny nose as well. I've addressed it with Pam and Rex and I've addressed it with Ms. Legore, and due to them not having a fever, the doctor's appointments are not being enforced. And I agree with that due to this coronavirus having at least 8 or 9 other symptoms, 2 of which are directly involving respiratory symptoms as well. You know, in the past, just having a minor cold, they've fully suspended the visits and canceled the visits for sometimes 5 days to a week straight, just to make sure that they were okay. So I don't see why there's an exception now while there's a bigger pandemic on hand.
Your concerns are noted.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, and last up today, Sophia Johnson and Brody Wallenwine. I'm going to let everybody else in the waiting room in on the assumption they're here on this case. So, Mr.
Yeah,
Brown,
do I
you
need to
are
go ahead and
LGAL?
disconnect the call?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right.
Bless you.
Phew.
Again.
Thank you. Allergic.
Okay, Johnson and Wallenwine minors. So we've got Mr. Brown as LGAL. Mr. Way on behalf of the petitioner. And let's see, who else is on this file?
Mike Kelly on behalf of Mr. Wallenwine.
Senator Ken Hotchkiss on behalf of Marissa Wallenwine Johnson.
Mr. Brown, how are these children doing?
They're doing very well. Sophia's in the care of her grandmother, getting unsupervised parenting time and overnights with her mother. Brody has always been with his father. They're doing very well. I've spoke with both placements. I'm pleased that my daughter are working to repair their relationship. There's never really been a concern about Brody, as he's always been with his dad, which leads me to question, do we need to keep the case open with regard to Brody? I mean, we can, but is there a need for it? Other than that, I would suggest closing the case with regard to Brody. It makes sense to keep the other case open, to continue to monitor mom's situation, and to repair their relationship, because I think the counseling is helping. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Fidawa, do you have any updates or anything to add to your report?
I have no updates.
What's your feeling on whether Brody could be removed from this case?
I would have no objection to that, Your Honor. Brody is doing well with his dad, and Paul and Marissa have both been able to work out a visit agreement without any intervention from me. I know that they're working through things. I think that Brody would be well cared for between his parents.
Mr. Kelly, what's your position on the recommendations?
Your Honor, my client non-respondent, I did speak with him yesterday. The only concern that I would have for him is closing the case with Brody. There is no other order sitting out there in relation to custody or parenting time should something happen with mom's sobriety. I don't believe that the parties are going to stay married, from what I understand. They do. So that being said, it may make more sense if that's the direction we're headed, unless Mr. Wallenwein says different, to allow that divorce case to get started. So at least, at the very least, a temporary order could get entered that would put safeguards in place for Mr. Wallenwein and Brody. And so, as I said, if anything goes wrong with their relationship, the parties will at least have that type of a schedule and understanding in place.
Okay, and Mr. Hotchkiss.
Your Honor, I discussed the report and recommendations with my client, and she's in support of the recommendations. She did indicate that she would like the court to grant her permission to be at the route station home. Frankly, whether or not the father is there, because Brody starts his virtual learning August 24th. And he has some concerns about Paul being in charge of that and would like to be able to be at that home to assist, and is asking that the court remove that restriction for that reason. Otherwise, we're in accord with the recommendations. As it relates to Mr. Brown's request to remove Brody, I haven't discussed that directly with my client since and we talked over the telephone, but she is here today. But my concern would be that there would be nothing in place for a parenting schedule for either party, frankly. So they're still married, and so presumably they would each have equal rights. Thank you.
Okay, so without any kind of a custody order, and that certainly is a, I mean, it's possible to get a custody order in place without a divorce. It's a little unusual, but I've seen them before. We've had court orders when parties are separated but remain married, where that can be addressed. But that's not something the court feels comfortable issuing its typical ex parte order on. I think it would be incumbent upon the parties to get legal representation and figure out what needs to happen in order to do that. So I am a little uncomfortable cutting Brody loose from the case until there's some kind of custody order in place.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
If I may, I mean, I understand the concern, but I mean, honestly, me and Marissa have talked about it at length, and I mean, even as far as the possibility of a divorce, you know, we're talking about mediate, we're talking about not involving friend of the court, we're talking about having a fairly loosey-goosey schedule because that's just how we operate. So like there is no intention on my end, and I don't think on Marissa's end either, to ever have anything extremely firm as far as a custody agreement. We're going to mediate it and try to avoid it involving friend of the court entirely, just because we don't want there to be dictated as far as payment terms, as far as custody time. And you got to have them here by 6 or pick them up by 6. We don't want to live like that.
And that was the next thing out of my mouth. Some people can get along without the court being involved in their lives. Not everybody. Some people can. And it seems like Mr. Wallenwine and Mrs. Wallenwine can.
You folks do understand if you run into a problem where you're not getting along, you're a long ways away from getting court order. So either one of you could effectively end up keeping the child from the other, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it until you can get a court order entered. If you're both comfortable with that situation, and are confident that you're not going to have any issues, I guess my inclination is to do exactly that and to remove Brody from the petition.
Your Honor, could you hear from my client, because I've not discussed that directly with her, and just to confirm that she feels the same as Mr. Wallenwine?
Thank you, Mr. Hotchkiss, and I do. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm in agreement. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, based upon that, I'm going to trust these two adults to be able to make the proper arrangements to provide for Brody, and I'm going to remove Brody from the petition.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So back to the and whether or not mom can move into the home. Can I hear about that from, I guess, Mr. Brown? Does that cause you any concerns?
I don't think they were asking for her to move in. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hotchkiss. I think she's already allowed to go there. I think she spent a weekend where Mr. Wallenwine had some work obligations. That does give me some concern. If they're going through a divorce right now, it does give me some concern. It doesn't make my opinion change, because I don't think it changes anything. But I think she's already there, but I don't think that they're asking for her to move back in. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, in any event, here's what I'm going to do. Won't be anything in my order placing any restriction on that.
Thank you.
Okay, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, and otherwise I'm going to implement the recommendations. We'll have our next review hearing November 10th at 9:15. Anything else I need to address today?
Oh, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Me too. See you tomorrow.